The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Morning Markets Kickoff with your host, Tommy O'Brien. Now, Tommy O'Brien.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien, coming to you live from TFNN just after 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We got about 24 minutes to go until the start of trading. You got markets picking things up in negative territory. Seems to be a little bit of a trend this week, right? We make highs last Thursday. We accelerate a bit off that high on Friday, and you see the trend, lower prices throughout the week. You're talking about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we opened the session under basically where we would have been yesterday. You're talking about a SPY at 434. You're talking about the S&P futures right now, just under 4,400 at 43.99. NASDAQ 100. I mean, look at these round numbers, right? 15,000 on the dot as we speak, negative by about 0.3% in the NASDAQ 100. We get the Dow right now off 85 points. Yeah, 34,150. You see the same thing as in lower prices on the Dow. Pretty interesting. We give back the huge acceleration. You're talking about almost, 700 points in the Dow? Just mammoth numbers in terms of the acceleration. The Russell right now, negative by about 3 points at 1877. And yeah, the S&P is backing things up. I mean, you're pretty much right where you were. You started that acceleration Thursday. And the lows of last Fed day, you're talking about only 10, 15 points from where we were on that price level. We got the Bank of England. They're hiking rates this morning. We'll jump over to that in a moment. You got the price of crude trading lower. We're above $72 early this morning. We're trading at $70.38 right now. We jump over to the gold contract. Gold's had some volatility to the downside this week. Seems like that trend is going to continue right now. We're pushing the lows of yesterday. We're at $19.31. You're negative by $14 on the session right now. Excuse me, you jump to notes and bonds as we get some Bank of England volatility thrown in the mix. We got the 10-year right now, negative by 11 ticks. Look at that volatility, right? 7 in the morning, you spiked down to about 112.26. You made it up to 113.14, and just like that, we're back with the 112 handle in the 10-year right now. And that's going to put us at a yield of about 3.77%. 3.77%, the yield on the 10-year. We jump over to the VIX Volatility Index this morning, sitting at 1384. We almost got a 12 handle yesterday. Remarkable, man. You jump over to the dollar index when we got a little bit of volatility. So dollar trades down to a new recent low of 101.92 before we get a little bit of an acceleration back to 102.27 right now. And let's jump to that headline as the Bank of England, they step it up and they hike to 5%. And they're thinking that possibly they're going to 6.25. The market's pricing in almost a 1 out of 3 opportunity, 1 out of 3 chance that the market that they hit 6.25 by February as they're bringing it, man. Bank of England steps up inflation fight with surprise rate hike to 5%, 7.2, so not unanimous like here. The increase to 5%, half a percentage point, stepping up its fight against the worst bout of inflation since the 80s and warning that it may have to hike again. Markets had only priced in about a 40% chance of a half-point hike. Most economists were looking for 25. Really interesting how it goes, right? In terms of we pause, Bank of England's supposed to go a quarter, they go 50. Right? You had the ECB the day after our meeting last Thursday. They come out. They hiked by a quarter. And you had Lagarde sounding much stronger than Powell did in terms of their July meeting, saying that, yeah, they're probably going to come in July as well. They said nothing to rein in market expectations for rate peaks around 6% by early next year, which would be the highest in over 2 decades. What are we sitting at right now? 5.1? Right? Are we in between 5 and 5.25, I think, is the range? Maybe somebody in the den can help me out. I should know. 10 straight hikes. Nonetheless, the economy is doing better than expected, but inflation is still too high, and we've got to deal with it, Bailey said. We know this is hard. Many people with mortgages or loans will be understandably worried about what this means for them, but if we don't raise rates now, it could be worse later. I'd agree with that one, man, for sure. And yeah, it's not even the people with the mortgages or the loans. If they're adjustable, that's a big problem, of course, man. What about trying to do anything in the future? The pound swung between gains and losses. Let's jump over to the pound, yeah. There's some action for you. That's the reason why you're getting some dollar volatility this morning. You spike up to 128, and just like that, you're back. And you're actually at a lower price of 127.32 on the pound U.S. dollar as we got our market slightly in negative territory. But yeah, interesting in the context of where we are now. UK borrowing costs could keep rising through the summer. Even after the U.S. Fed paused its tightening, Britain remains an outlier in the group of 7 nations. Consumer prices rising 8.7% in May. Right? Yeah, they got a big problem, man, in a big way. So CPI in the UK is in black. Euro is in red, pink we'll call it, and the U.S. is in yellow. Now, this is CPI, folks, okay? And this is headline. And our CPI is dramatically impacted by inflation, by energy. Every CPI is dramatically impacted by inflation. Energy is a real reason that's dropped off. I would love to see the core numbers put on there, take out the energy factor and see how they're contributing across the board. But boy, you look at those charts, right? Even in the UK versus the Euro versus the US, well above where we're supposed to be right now. Yeah, to put it lightly. Two-year mortgage rates have tripled to more than 6% since March of last year, and experts are warning of a mortgage time bomb as households refinance at unaffordable levels. At least 800,000 fixed mortgages due to move on to significantly higher rates in the second half of the year. Yeah, because they don't have the mortgages that we do over here. They got fixed over there. They have sometimes fixed for a certain amount of years, etc. Not quite the same scenario that we have going on. Yeah, 2-year fixed, 2-year fixed, and 5-year fixed. I mean, we are so fortunate to have 30-year fixed mortgages, folks, and it's remarkable that it persisted for so long in terms of allowing that type of debt on your home is absolutely remarkable in terms of, as an investor, being able to capitalize on that. There's a reason why they don't let you do that if that home is an investor home. They only let you do it if a home is actually a home you're going to live in, because it is such a sweetheart type of a loan. All right, let's jump around to some of the FANG stocks. We jump around to Amazon shares. Yeah, really unaffected yesterday that the FTC is coming after them, saying that they make it difficult for people to cancel Prime. Not a shocker there, folks, if you know how it works, right? You sign up, you don't even realize when you're signing up probably sometimes. And, yeah, of course they're going to make it difficult. Is that going to change their business dramatically going forward? No, I don't expect it will. Let's jump to the big dog, Apple. Apple shares going to be down about 60 cents on the open, 183.31 this morning. We jump over to Tesla. What's in the news? I keep seeing headlines. I haven't had the time to waste to get into the details. Is Elon wrestling Zuckerberg? Is that what's happening? I think it is. It's possible. Something's going on. I keep seeing the headlines. Nonetheless, you got Tesla down about $30 from where it was trading at just early yesterday. Right? How about that one, right? Now, let's back this up, man. You talk about a move. Now, we're going to open at about 250. We were just pushing 280. This stock was just at 152, folks, let alone 100 where you started the year. Okay, we were just at 152. You shot up to 280. Talked about it yesterday. Folks, that's April 27th. It's not even 2 months later, and this stock was just up almost 100%. So be careful on some Tesla shares. Negative action in the market. Stay tuned, folks. We're coming back, talking to our man from Kevin Hincks from TD Ameritrade Network. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
TFNN has launched The Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors. S&P's negative by about 13 points right now. NASDAQ 100 negative by 55. Dow negative by 95. Let's jump over to our man Kevin Hincks every trading day, folks. 12 noon Eastern time from the TD Ameritrade Network Fast Market with your host Kevin Hincks, Tom White. And let's just jump into it, man. We got a fast market, Kevin Hincks. We got the Bank of England. I was going to say ECB. We got so many central banks in the mix this week. Last week, we got the Bank of England hiking by 50 basis points. What do you think of the action this morning?
Well, I think the knee-jerk reaction, it was a slight surprise only because the probabilities were 60% for a 25 basis point move. So that was a bit surprising. But if you look at their economic data, you're not surprised at all that they had to be more hawkish. They have a CPI year over year of 8.7%. Tommy, their core went from 6.8 to 7.1% year over year. So they have inflation going in the wrong way. So the Bank of England, it was a 7-2 vote, and they moved, interest rates up from 4.5% to 5%. Remember, they're still behind where the U.S. is, but they're playing catch up here as we pause, and they went up by 50 basis points. So the right move. A bit of a surprise that they were so hawkish just from the probabilities, but all things considered, it was the right idea, Tommy.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was reading an article on Bloomberg this morning, Kevin, and they had the CPI plotted of our CPI in the U.S. versus the CPI in the Euro area, and then the CPI in the U.K., man. And it is a lofty level, stuck at, maybe not stuck, but 8% versus even Euro somewhere near 5%, and ours down near 4%. Quite the battle they have. Interesting to see the dollar. What do you think, Kevin, as we go forward in the Fed? So interesting, right, where we have our Fed pausing. You have the ECB hiking and Lagarde seeming pretty confident that they were going to go in the next meeting as well. And now you have the Bank of England hiking by 50 basis points. Do you think this is going to put more pressure on the Fed if the other central banks, and we know that they're late to the party, and boy, the numbers mean they have to do it, but does that put more pressure on the Fed, Kevin, if we have actually other central banks almost surprising to the upside and continuing the pressure as the Fed tries to ease off? Did you factor that into where maybe Chairman Powell is thinking about going, or is that just a completely different conversation in your opinion?
I think it's two parallel conversations. It's like everyone should take care of their own house. I mean, that's a very simple statement, but if you think about it from a global perspective, if everyone takes care of their own house and does what they need to do, the rest of the world should take care of itself, right? We went way earlier than the Eurozone, and we went faster than the Eurozone did. As you can tell, they just got to 5% on their rates. So yeah, they were late and compared to us raising rates, and we went much faster than they did. So I think they're realizing that the light touch doesn't work. So I think they're fighting inflation as best they can. And like I said, if each person takes care of their own house, then usually things work out pretty well. But when one country starts relying on the other, and the U.S. will always be the leader, and you saw that with Jerome Powell fighting inflation. He's got a dual mandate, and he's got unemployment at 3.7%. So it's interesting. Jerome Powell's comments yesterday in front of Congress were on point. He stayed. I joked on the air yesterday that I think his prepared statement, he may have just copied and pasted his FOMC statement and put it in there. Now, that being said, Raphael Bostic came out somewhat dovish yesterday in some of his comments, talking about the Fed needs to wait further before hiking for impact of previous interest rates to work through the economy. He thinks July may be too soon. So some of the comments that he made yesterday. So kind of interesting back and forth here. Day two of Jerome Powell's comments will never make the headlines that day one does, although it's always interesting to watch him and some of the senators go back and forth just for comedic purposes. I think it's always entertaining. But that being said, I don't expect Jerome Powell to make any new headlines today. And the Bank of England, significant in its own way.
Yeah, and I guess, when you got a CPI pushing almost 8% still right now, and that's the headline CPI, let alone you break it down to core. I'm not even sure where they are there, but boy, some lofty numbers, to put it lightly. And as you were talking about, maybe Bostic, I mean, we had a little bit of the conversation yesterday. I was saying, we don't get a ton of data before that late July meeting, and if they're taking kind of a totality of the last 3 or 4 months or something like that, maybe they do. Maybe their plan is to pause for 2 meetings, and that brings them all the way into September, and they really get to see 3 months of data and see if that lag catches up. We get to find out as traders, folks, which is pretty interesting. VIX almost hit 12 yesterday, Kevin. Pretty interesting. I wanted to jump to Tesla, though. Tesla gets a downgrade from Morgan Stanley. They're off about $8 this morning to 250. This thing was just pushing almost 280. My goodness, 279.54. I got it yesterday pre-market, so you shave about $30 just like that, Kevin. But as I've heard you say on the program, things can be overbought, they can be oversold, no matter how good or how bad a company is. Boy, just from where this was 2 months ago, Kevin, April 27th on the Thinkorswim platform, I got this thing down at, let me get the exact price here, 152. You're almost talking about 100% bagger up to 280. What do you think about Tesla at these prices? It's been quite a run, even the last couple months, man.
Yeah, everything you just said about Tesla, you can pretty much take out Tesla and put any one of these magnificent seven stocks that are driving the NASDAQ higher, Tommy. They all have gone up exponentially and probably a little fast. Does that mean you should be completely bearish on them? Probably not. But everything, at some point, you're right, Tommy. At some point, I want to be long every stock. At some point, I want to be short every stock. And these stocks, the NASDAQ was severely overbought. So was the SPX. So not really surprising that in these summer months, it's lost some of its energy to the upside, Tommy.
It's pretty. I was jumping through some of the charts as you were talking about it, and we've had the conversation before, but boy, they are some stratospheric runs, man. Apple, Microsoft, Meta, the likes, it goes on and on. With that in mind, Kevin, what are you guys talking about on Fast Market as we're pretty much near the end of earnings season? We kick it off again as we start, but we're pretty much near the end. You guys talking equities? What are you talking about on Fast Market coming up at 12 today, Kevin?
Yeah, CarMax has earnings after the bell. We'll focus on that. Like Folio, we'll look at CarMax and the overall used market. If you break down the CPI data like I do every month, used car prices have gone up 4.4% 2 months in a row, Tommy. Let's see if that's helping or hurting CarMax, because they ran into some trouble navigating some of these crazy used car markets. So we'll look at CarMax, and then, frankly, we're looking at some stocks that pop up on the radar this morning to trade. So we haven't made a final decision, but CarMax will be the focus with earnings after the bell today.
Yeah, those cars, the used cars, man. I got the CarMax chart up on the Thinkorswim platform. As you're saying, it up to 155. What do we got? Lows somewhere in the $55 range. We've pushed $78. And, of course, Carvana, the poster boy for some volatility in that market. But CarMax, man, interesting. We look forward to the program as always, Kevin. I appreciate the time on a busy morning, man. We don't talk to you tomorrow, so we'll talk to you next Tuesday. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I look forward to the show at 12, man.
Thanks for having me on, Tommy.
Always a pleasure. Folks, check it out. Fast Market, 12 o'clock today. Outstanding program. I have learned so much from Kevin Hincks, the team at TD Ameritrade Network over the years, folks, talking about options. Even if you don't trade options, folks, understanding how they work, how they trade, the mechanics behind them, volatility. Check it out. 12 o'clock. We'll be back for the open.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible to most people. They think it's too volatile and risky. Most people aren't going to take the time to educate themselves on how to do it right. But you're not most people, are you? At TFNN, you'll get the guidance you need to refine your strategies and techniques to invest like a pro. Because you'll be a pro. All TFNN subscriptions, books, software, and courses are available at TFNN.com. And I'm even going to tell you how to get them for less. Use TFNN's Tiger Dollars and you'll get up to a 20% bonus on your purchase. And once you apply them to your account, Tiger Dollars are automatically used for all future or recurring charges. Tiger Dollars also never expire, are fully transferable, and are a great way to add savings to your newsletters or services. Become the investor you were born to be at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN has just launched their new trading room, the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. And now they are expanding their reach with the Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. In the Tiger's Den, you can look over the shoulders of Tom O'Brien and the other TFNN hosts while they analyze charts during their live Tiger TV programs, and join an interactive trading community with hundreds of members exchanging ideas. Interact with other tigers and tigresses as they share trading ideas, news analysis, and discuss the market action all trading day, even at night and on the weekends. The Tiger's Den at Discord is accessible on mobile or tablets as well, so it's always at your reach. To sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders, just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. For free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
This segment is brought to you by Thinkorswim. For more information, just click the Thinkorswim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Welcome back, folks. We got markets open. You get an S&P down about 12 points, trading at 43.97. And yeah, you got to keep your eye on some of these big FANG stocks, right? Because the run has been extraordinary, folks. Look at this Apple, man. Now, this is what Apple did yesterday, okay, before it sold off $3. You got a jack higher, you got a jack higher. Every day, this thing just trades higher. It accelerates right out of the gate. Look at this, right? I mean, you just could have bought the open going back no matter when, even on negative days, man. You get that acceleration to positive territory in Apple right now. You're up by 0.1% on Apple, with the market basically right across the board. Microsoft shares, they're flat on the session. Let's go back to a daily. Yeah, so as Kevin was saying, right, the run has been extraordinary, folks, and I've talked about it as well. I mean, you talk about a company like Apple. Is Apple going to create another $1 trillion in market cap over the next 6 months? Well, that's very difficult to do, okay? And you're seeing some of that play out for Tesla this morning. So they get a downgrade from Morgan Stanley. They're off 2.7%. That's after the acceleration they had yesterday. I mean, Tesla's almost up 200% from where this thing was at the beginning of the year. You jump over to the Analyze tab. We go down for how many shares they have outstanding. You're talking about a company with about 3.1 billion shares outstanding, approaching almost 3.2. Call it 3 billion shares for simple math. You just almost added, what, from 100 to almost 300 to 180. Is that $540 billion in market cap Tesla added this year alone? Just remarkable runs in a big way. All right, let's jump to some of the other companies with their numbers. Darden Restaurants with their numbers. It's been quite a run for them recently. We back things up for the 5-year weekly, right? COVID, you dropped from 120 down to 40. We're pushing 170 on their earnings. Today, though, you're off by 3%. They beat expectations for earnings. Revenue came in line. Full-year earnings guidance placed the consensus estimate of the analysts polled on the higher end of the company's range. Meanwhile, Darden's revenue guidance higher than the forecast. The company increased its quarterly dividend, and their chairman is going to retire. So all things considered, some pretty decent numbers out there. But just like anything else, you give back some of that acceleration. We're is that all-time highs? It might be, right? Yeah, all-time highs. So you come into that earnings event in all-time highs. Important to keep in context there as it trades a little bit lower. All right, this one's an interesting one I want to get to. So Bed Bath & Beyond, they will live on in infamy, in Overstock. Seems like a decent price. So Overstock wins the auction for Bed Bath & Beyond's intellectual property and digital assets. You got Overstock.com trading higher. Let's jump over to them today. What's Overstock symbol? OSTK. Yeah, so they're up by 8.2%. Let's jump to the fundamentals of this company for a moment. What's the market cap of this company? So it's a $1 billion company essentially right now. You got 45 million shares outstanding. $1 billion company. And they pay about 2% of their company's worth for the intellectual property, digital assets of Bed Bath & Beyond. The deal does not include keeping the chain's brick-and-mortar presence alive, and you're going to have a separate auction for the Bye Bye Baby chain, which has a lot of merit and value there, I'm sure. $21.5 million, okay? And that is actually the floor. So they basically came in at the minimum, nobody else bid, and that's what they got. The sales price is the same. Yeah, which set the floor price at the auction, indicating Bed Bath didn't receive higher or more attractive bids. So they set the floor. Overstock came in and said, I'll give you the minimum and nothing more, and nobody else came. It'd be interesting to see what they do with that brand in terms of if they can do anything with it. $1 billion company, $20 million, maybe they can refurbish an online brand of some degree. I don't know. If it was that easy, many companies would come after them. Not that easy. Nonetheless, the market likes it. Yeah, and that's so they're running a separate sale process for the Bye Bye Baby chain, and that is the crown jewel of their assets. Many times, you know, there were a lot of activist investors that were pushing them to spin off Bye Bye Baby. They obviously should have done it because they didn't pan out when they were together, right? I'm not even familiar. What is Bye Bye Baby? What do they own? What brands do they own? Let's see. See what they own. All right, I'll jump around to the next break. I can't pull it up that quick, but they have a lot of brands and stores that they own and operate as part of that, and that is their crown jewel. Nonetheless, I thought it was interesting, right? $21.5 million for the brands. You don't even have to keep the stores open. Seems like a company like Overstock might be able to make $20 million back by operating that type of a brand, but I don't know. Nobody else seems to think so, so we'll see where it plays out. Okay, back to the Elon and Mark saga. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if this actually plays out. I imagine you'd get some views, man. Two of the richest people in the world battling it out. Maybe they'll go in an octagon. Are we going to get some bloody lips in there or something? Who knows? We will see. Musk picks Vegas for the Zuckerberg cage match. I don't know if you're going to see this one play out, folks. Probably not in their best interest. Elon, yeah, he's probably all over that. I think Zuckerberg would probably kick his butt only because of the training. I mean, Zuckerberg, folks, don't mess with people who are trained in martial arts. Don't mess with people who are trained wrestlers, okay, of any degree. Usually you'd be pretty surprised at how that training, and I've seen in my much younger days, I mean, especially in my younger days, I had friends who were wrestlers. And man, when things got out of line at parties or something like that, right, you didn't want to be messing with the one who was the hardcore wrestler, because they'd put you in some kind of hold in about 2 seconds. That thing was old. They'd probably put you to sleep. And yeah, so Zuckerberg, he trains Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, man. Trains under Dave Camarillo, Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu Academy. He's trained a bunch of UFC champions. That training goes a long way, man. And so I don't think Zuckerberg, though, is going to go into this because he has too much to lose of the tantalizing nature of a fight like that. Elon is already a clown show, you know, and I'm putting my own deal into there, right? But I don't think Zuckerberg has. But guess what? He's in there talking about send me the location. I'm not sure that's going to happen, though. We'll see if that plays out. Nonetheless, and this stems from the fact that Facebook might be trying to compete with Twitter. And it would make sense, man. Twitter's the most mundane, you think about it, right? I mean, that's probably why Elon slashed everybody. Yes, there's a lot of work that can be done by the engineers and so forth, but at its base, it's a pretty simple company, Twitter. You create an account, you can post how many characters, now they got videos, they got all that stuff, right? But it's a pretty replicatable business if you can get everybody on your site versus everybody else's. So, yeah, Facebook's coming out with Meta to release Twitter rival called Threads. They're working on a standalone text-based social network app that could compete with Twitter. So why not let the richest men in the world battle it out? But I don't imagine that what's going to be happening. I wouldn't hold your breath too much because, you know, it's a lose-lose for Zuckerberg, man. If Zuckerberg comes in and I don't know. I was going to say if Zuckerberg comes in and kicks his butt and but I think that would actually be a win if Zuckerberg came in and kicked Elon's butt. We'll see. Nonetheless, it's interesting. All right, we got a couple more to talk about, folks. Stay tuned. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little short bets. How about $1 trillion on the market? Yeah, that's a big one. And we'll talk a little bit of rent, $26K. Renters by choice. A lot of renters by choice in these days. Stay tuned, folks. Markets in red territory. We'll be right back.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
The Gold Report. As a precious metal, gold is still king. It continues to hold the most effective safe haven and hedging properties across the global major trading hubs of the London OTC market, the U.S. futures market, and the Shanghai Gold Exchange. The Gold Report. Tom O'Brien publishes his weekly gold report every Monday morning for subscribers, consisting of coverage of the XAU, HUI, GDX, the dollar, bonds, the South African rand, as well as 25 different mining equities with specific buy-sell recommendations. The Gold Report. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee so you have nothing to risk. Subscribe to Tom O'Brien's Gold Report newsletter now at TFNN.com.
Will the S&P 500 continue to climb? For bold trades on U.S. large-cap stocks in either direction, trade SPXL, SPUU, or SPXS. Directions Daily S&P 500 Bull and Bear Leveraged ETFs. Direction Leveraged ETFs. An investor should carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, call 866-476-7523 or visit directioninvestments.com. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Welcome back, folks. We got the S&Ps negative by about 12 points right now. Pretty tight trading range. We're bouncing around between about 43.95 and 4,400 on the S&Ps. You get the Dow off 110 right now. We jump around to some of the moves with the Bank of England hiking rates. We got the dollar index right now up about 14 pennies at 102.21 right now. You jump over to yields. The 10-year 113.01 back above the 113 range. Jump over to the pound, see how they're digesting what's going on. You get the pound actually lower off of that move, 127.37. And you got the NASDAQ climbing higher, back above 15,000. Yeah, as I said, man, the move. Look at Apple. Look at Apple, man. Woo-wee. Microsoft catches a bid. Look at these equities, man. Remarkable. Microsoft up by 0.7. Apple in the green. NVIDIA catches a bid on the open, but still negative by about 1%. We jump over to Tesla shares, catches a bid as well, but still off about 1.2%. Talked about Overstock. I guess they liked it, but they don't like it that much. They're up by 4.7%. They had $1 in the pre-market. Now, here's what's always interesting when you have companies like this, right? I remember when Amazon bought Whole Foods. The stock skyrocketed well above what they actually paid for Whole Foods. Can you imagine, right? You run a company. Let's say you run a company and you have shares of that company that represent ownership of that company, and that company is valued at $1 million. And you say to a smaller company, I'm going to buy you for $100,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a transaction all in shares. I'm going to give you 10% of the outstanding shares, which represent $100,000. And what happens? The market goes up by 20%, and all of a sudden, even giving out that 10%, the money you have left is worth more. Yeah. Digital assets, right? So what exactly does that mean, Jimmy? It's a great question. I don't know how that works, right? And do they actually plan on using the name, or because the mailing list may be worth it itself, man? It's a great point. And in the den, our man Jimmy's saying they buy in the database, not the biz, the bridal registry stuff. Yeah, I wonder how that works out in terms of how big that part of their business is, right? Registries, what their mailing list is like. I know Bed Bath & Beyond is a huge one for going back to school, stuff like that as well. I think I remember going through there myself. Think about that, right? I mean, that's crazy, man. I'm talking about 25 years ago, exactly. I just had my 25-year high school reunion. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make it, but 25 years ago is exactly when I was looking for goods going to college for the first time, which is crazy, man. to think about. But yeah, $20 million shouldn't make or break Overstock, so they probably can capitalize on that, man. $21 million is not much for a company with a name like that does that kind of business. All right, let's talk about other big companies, man. Let's talk about, let me get the article. Here it is. Perfect. Shein. All right, have you heard about this one? I have a couple females in my household, an adult and a child, and boy, if you are a young person, okay, especially teenagers, it seems like as well, man, 16, 17, 18, whatever it is, Shein is on fire. And it is super affordable, folks. If you haven't seen the type of prices that they're putting out, I'm talking about $5 shirts, man, $6 sandals. They talk about it in this article. And what they're talking about is they get significant operations in China. They do a huge portion of their business in the U.S., and they're now having to navigate the difficult aspects of doing business in China. Now, of course, they're going to basically say we're not doing business in China. You know, we're not sourcing our cotton from the Xinjiang maybe, region where the U.S. has accused Chinese authorities of committing genocide and using forced labor. Significant operations in China, heavy reliance on sales in the U.S., delicate balancing act to perform navigating geopolitical tensions between China and the U.S., and this is right on the heels of Biden calling Xi a dictator. Yeah, so not exactly the deal there. Shein has said it has a zero-tolerance policy against forced labor. Who's not going to say that, okay? Who's going to come out and say, well, we look at slave labor, you know, they're not going to say that. Okay, of course they're going to say that. So take this as for what it's worth. But boy, it's an interesting one in terms of the reach they have. I was trying to access the type of numbers we're talking about here. This is an article from last year, okay, from PC Mag, talking about that Shein had unseated Amazon as the most downloaded U.S. shopping app. Now, again, this is from over about a year ago. Ultra cheap, trendy clothing, okay? And this is talking about the China-based company surpassed Amazon's in terms of global app downloads in 2021. But the first half of 2022 marks the first time it eclipsed Amazon in the U.S. So they eclipsed them globally in 2021, but in the U.S., 22.4 million Shein downloads versus 22 million for Amazon. Now, how does that work, though? Right? Who's downloading the Amazon app in the middle of 2022? You either have it or you don't. I know that's not the case, okay? But nonetheless, you can see you're talking about 20-plus downloads in the first half of last year, let alone where they are right now. Small margin, but notable for a company founded just 10 years ago. Explosive growth. Most downloaded shopping apps, Shein up there, Amazon, Walmart, Shop, and it goes down the list. But that was just a random article to kind of illustrate what's going on. Now, when you talk about Chinese companies, okay, other articles that popped up, just for reference, if you got people in your house using this, 100-plus million downloaded Shein app found copying clipboard content on the Android phones. Now, this one is just from March, okay? And again, gbhackers.com, not familiar, not even sure if this is a real site, okay, for context of what we're talking about here. But you're talking about a Chinese company doing big-time business in the U.S. You better believe that your privacy is at stake, okay? And what this talks about is recent revelations by Microsoft that an old version of the Shein app, but guess what, man? If you don't upload your app, okay, if you don't update your app, it was copying and reading the contents of the clipboard on the Android devices regularly. Now, we all know that Android has more risks in terms of what can be in some of the apps versus Apple that completely polices the apps that are within their iTunes store and the App Store, okay? There have been no updates to the app since the release of version 7.9.2 in December. Now, this is, again, from July. I don't know what's going on since then. Microsoft researchers reported that they discovered this issue that has been fixed in the May 2022 update, okay? But basically, while the clipboard users mainly perform the copy and paste of the following type of data, okay, in order to identify and observe the code responsible, Microsoft's cybersecurity analysts perform two types of analysis. They break it down, all right? But nonetheless, what were they doing? When you're copying and pasting things, folks, they were just reading all that. So be careful on some of those apps, man. Sheen, yeah, it's an important one. You're gonna hear a lot more about it, man. We got Wall Street Journal articles getting written talking about China, right? Talking about the U.S., etc. And you're talking about an app that does 20+ million. It's going to sell to more than 150 countries. It's valued at $66 billion. How about that, man? Quite a company, to put it lightly. Yeah. All right, folks, we got markets clawing it back. You can't hold the NASDAQ 100 down in negative territory, man. I kid, in jest. NASDAQ 100 positive by 15. We got Apple shares trading higher by 0.6%. Look at that acceleration. Stay tuned, folks. One more segment. Don't go away. I'll be right back.
TFNN has just launched their new trading room, the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. And now they are expanding their reach with the Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. In the Tiger's Den, you can look over the shoulders of Tom O'Brien and the other TFNN hosts while they analyze charts during their live Tiger TV programs, and join an interactive trading community with hundreds of members exchanging ideas. Interact with other tigers and tigresses as they share trading ideas, news analysis, and discuss the market action all trading day, even at night and on the weekends. The Tiger's Den at Discord is accessible on mobile or tablets as well, so it's always at your reach. To sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders, just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
This segment is brought to you by Thinkorswim. For more information, just click the Thinkorswim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Welcome back, folks. You got Apple up 0.6%, adding $1.10 to their share price, trading at 185.04. We got the S&Ps negative by just 4 points right now. NASDAQ 100 positive by 28. You catch a bid. Other data we had this morning, the U.S. jobless claims out. Interesting, we had so much data going on in terms of Bank of England out there. Initial jobless claims held at 264 on the week ended June 17th after a slight upward revision to the previous week's figures. You can see the trend is higher, man. That is undeniable. You're talking about a trend that's in place since last September. So you're talking about 9 months or so that we've been rising. It was under 200. That's the 4-week average is in black there. Okay, so we are rising, to put it lightly. Continuing claims, though, falling to 1.76 million. The upward trend in claims follows recent layoff announcements in tech and banking, as well as slowdowns. 4-week average, 255,000. So we get that number out this morning. And yeah, we'll see where we go from there. Nonetheless, the market trading above 4,400, excuse me. We jump over to the VIX this morning, 1366. Excuse me, 1366 for that volatility index. Boy, and pay attention, man, because the VIX is telling you, folks, we're in summer trading. We're in a period of low volatility. I mean, look at this. You back this up on a 5-year weekly. We've seen nothing like what we're seeing right now since COVID, which is remarkable to say. But we're in a different part of the Fed hiking cycle, and we are in a different part of the volatility that is coming down the line. First, you had COVID volatility in terms of what the heck was happening to our livelihood and our planets, right? Then you had 2021, which was kind of just euphoria, but still amazing that you didn't get the VIX below 15 as we marched to such higher prices. And then we get the volatility last year having to do with rate hikes. What's this year? Right now, we're in a lull. We're in a lull for some time, and the more I see the writing on the wall, folks, that July meeting, it's going to take a lot for that July meeting to be a hike, in my opinion. All right? The one that really gets interesting is September, and we'll go from there. Folks, thanks so much for starting your trading day off. Stay tuned. We got our man Basil Chapman coming up with the Tiger Technicians Hour. Steve Rhodes after that. Fast Market, Larry Pesavento, Tom O'Brien, my dad this afternoon. Thanks so much for starting your day with me, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great Thursday, everybody. Stay tuned for Basil.